Hi, I'm Destiny from Knifty Knittings, and today I'm going to show you how to knit the Garter Rib Knit Scarf. Thank you to Yarnspirations for sponsoring this video. For this project, we'll be using 2 skeins of Patons Alpaca Blend in the color Butternut. It's a really soft acrylic wool, nylon, and alpaca blend. There are 155 yards per skein, and we will be using just about all of it. We will also be using US 10.5 6.5 millimeter knitting needles, straight or circular. I'm going to begin with a long tail cast on. I like to measure my tail by wrapping my yarn around my needle about 10 times, and this is roughly how long of a tail I will need for 10 stitches. We're going to cast on 28 stitches, so I'm going to triple this up, and this is roughly how long of a tail I would need for 30 stitches. And right here is where I will place my slip knot. And place that on my needle. Again, we'll be using the long tail cast on, and we're going to cast on 28 stitches. I have my stitches casted on, and we will begin with row 1, which is a right side row. We are going to slip the first stitch knitwise with the yarn in back, and then knit to the end of the row. So just knit every stitch on this row. I finished row 1, and for row 2, which is a wrong side row, I'm going to slip the first stitch purlwise with the yarn in front. Then I'm going to purl 2, knit 2, and purl 3. And we'll continue repeating knit 2, purl 3 to the end of the row. So again, I'll knit 2, purl 3. Knit 2, purl 3. Okay, I finished row 2, and now we just repeat rows 1 and 2 for the entirety of the scarf. So for row 1, again, slip the first stitch knitwise, and we knit across. So just continue repeating rows 1 and 2 until your scarf measures about 82 inches long when gently stretched. I finished knitting my scarf. It's about 82 inches long, and now I'm ready to bind off all my stitches. I'm just going to knit 2 stitches and pass the first one over the second. Knit 1 more, pass the first one over. Just keep repeating this until you have 1 stitch remaining. I have 1 stitch left to knit. I'm going to pass this first stitch over and cut my yarn and just pull my tail through that last stitch. There we go. I'm going to weave in my ends, and then next up we will work on the tassels. I have 3 tassels finished here, and we need 1 more, so we can add 1 to each corner of the scarf. I'm going to use a small 6-inch book to wrap my yarn around. You could also use a piece of cardboard or whatever you have lying around that's roughly 6 inches. And I'm just going to wrap my yarn around this 15 times. Okay, cut my yarn here. Okay. Then I'm just going to cut across one side of the yarn. Okay. Then I'm going to take another strand of yarn, lay it out horizontally, and then place my yarn bundle on top of that, about halfway down, and tie a knot. Be sure not to pull this yarn too tightly. It is a single ply yarn, so it will pull apart if it's pulled too tightly. So I'm just tying a simple knot. And then I'm going to take another length of yarn, also lay that down horizontally, and place my tassel about an inch down from the top on top of it, and tie this one. And I'm going to turn the tassel over and tie it again on the other side to make sure it's nice and secure. And then I like to weave the ends into the tassel. So I'm going to use my yarn needle here. I'm just going to wrap the yarn around once more, and with my yarn needle tuck it underneath where I tied and pull that through. And do the same for the other tying strand. So just wrap it around, bring my yarn needle under the tie strand, and pull that through. There we go. Then we just need to trim these ends to make them nice and even. These are about 4 inches long. So I'm just going to compare it to my other tassel here and trim these ends. There we go. Just do a little more trimming here. Okay. Next up, I'll show you how to attach them to the scarf. I have one tassel attached to my scarf here. Nice and secure, so I'll show you how I did that. We're going to attach them to each corner of the scarf. Take my tassel. I'm going to thread one of the tassel ends onto the yarn needle. And just find the very corner of my scarf here and bring that end through. Not all the way through, and I'll show you why in a second. But just leave a little bit out. Then I'm going to take the other end, put that on my yarn needle, and thread this through the same hole as the last strand, but going the opposite direction. And again, don't pull it all the way through. I want to leave a little bit of a loop on each side so that we can tie a knot. We're just going to wrap the two ends around each other to tie a knot. And that'll make sure it's nice and centered at the corner of the scarf. There we go. And then to make sure it's nice and secure, I'm going to repeat that step. Just thread both strands of this back through that hole and tie another knot. So right through the same hole, leaving a little bit of slack here. And same thing for the other end, thread that back through as well. And again, wrap these around each other to tie a knot. And pull that nice and snug. Not too tightly, we don't want to break the yarn. Just nice and secure. Okay, then I'm just going to thread these ends onto my yarn needle again and weave them into the tassel. I like to weave them right through the top knot of the tassel. It really helps obscure the ends. And then down into the tassel. And pull it snug, but not too snug. We want it even with the rest of the tassel. And I'll do the same thing with this other end here. So going right through that top knot of the tassel and then down into the tassel. Pull that snug. And there we go. Then we just have to trim these ends. And that's it. We have 2 tassels connected and 2 more to go. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. For more patterns and tutorials, please visit niftyknittings.com.